Like, we can't even get our shit right at home, and we're worried about how we're going to look internationally against other places. I'm not undercutting our military and their power and all that. I hope we don't got to use it. But it's like, man, sometimes it feels a little ass backwards. You had what's her name? Mariana Van Zeller.
Oh,
I mean, she's covered all that stuff.
Dude, she is a G, bro. I had so much fun on that podcast. And again, I wasn't like prior to having her on. And again, apparently this is extremely common knowledge and I'm an idiot, but I wasn't aware of.
Do you think that exists right now? Like some sort of enemy that everyone can coalesce around and look at that you think is going to get worse?
I don't know. Nothing stands out. I mean, dude, I think that we're just against each other, and the enemy is whatever flavor of the week it is. The enemy is whatever topic that has been chosen for us to beat each other up over.
Yeah.
Why? Does something stand out to you that I'm missing? Because I might very well be.
No, I don't disagree with you. I think what they want it to be now is China. And that's understandable, the size of their GDP, some of the soft power they're doing around the world, certainly. And like, it's run by the CCP, which it's politically, we can complain all we want about what we got here. It's way better than that. So some of that would make sense on paper, but it's like also, no one's thrown a bomb at us. No one's done anything like that. And they want people to, whoever they are. They want people to get so into fighting against an ideology like that. And I don't think, I think the louder noise of social media and things that are happening here is drowning that out. And so, yeah, we're divided, so we're compliant in a lot of ways, but it's a pain in the ass, I'm sure, for the elites, because now all these idiots got a goddamn voice on the internet. I'm sure it drives them nuts when they see like the biggest show in the world is Joe Rogan, who's like a fucking comedian cage fighting analyst who talks with whoever he wants, and God bless him for doing it.
So crazy, man. So crazy. Yeah, I love that about Joe, the fact that he'll just have anybody on. But yeah, I mean, to your point about China, bro, like that's a good example, because there's a lot of different people that'll tell you a lot of different things about China. There's one school of thought, and you'll hear people talk about this on podcasts, that they are fucking public enemy number one, the most formidable threat that we have. Like, it'll come to a ground war with them, and we're already in an economic war with them, and how much some of that may be true. And then there's other people that are like, well, yeah, like China's serious, but maybe not. I wouldn't go that far with it. So that's just a perfect example of something that some of it may be narrative based. I'm sure the Lockheed Martins and the Raytheons of the world would love for people to buy into the fact that China can build ships at whatever 20 times the rate that we can, and that they've gone hypersonic and all this stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's always narratives behind certain things, and that's, again, bro, that's just the tough part with me. Like, we just talk to people and listen to what they have to say, but where the ground truth is, I don't fucking know. I don't have a security clearance, so.
Right, you do the best with the information you have and the person sitting in front of you, and that's the tough part of the job. But you're focused in this case. It would be on a country that's halfway around the world with all different alliances and influences from us and everything. But we're apparently even struggling with that on the home front, because China is one of many places that's using like the cartels to run like a backwards war against us through our own border that we fucked up. Like, we can't even get our shit right at home, and we're worried about how we're going to look internationally against other places. I'm not undercutting our military and their power and all that. I hope we don't got to use it. But it's like, man, sometimes it feels a little ass backwards. You had what's her name? Fucking Mariana Van Zeller.
Oh,
I mean, she's covered all that stuff.
Dude, she is a G, bro. I had so much fun on that podcast. And again, I wasn't like prior to having her on. And again, apparently this is extremely common knowledge and I'm an idiot, but I wasn't aware of just the scope, or the scale rather, of cartel operations, especially inside the United States. And she kind of got me up to speed on that, because in their new season that just came out, she did an episode on cartels embedded within.
What's the name of that show again?
Trafficked with Mariana Van Zeller. It's on Hulu and National Geographic. But Yeah, bro. I had no idea because like that again, that was the first time that I actually dove into the cartels on my show. And I didn't know how deep those roots were.
What
And
did she find? Like, what was the context there?
so dude, and again, like the stuff that blew my mind, people that love the cartels and they're all in on this, like that's probably common knowledge to them. But just how common it was to just grease the palms of border agents, the fact that they're paying them all off and slipping things right through the border. She had one, she talked to this drug mule who smuggled like a massive amount of fentanyl over the Mexican border into California in some compartment in her car. And so they watched the car go through the border, and the drugs weren't found. She was like, because I asked her too, I was like, were you conflicted, like letting those, not that, what are you going to do? We talk about that. But the point that I was going to make was that she watches it come in, and then on the other side of the border in America, she, goes up to the car and interviews her. Obviously, her face is blurred out and everything, and her voice is distorted. But she was like, weren't you concerned? Weren't you worried? Like, that's terrifying. You're going to go to prison forever. And she's like, oh, no, that's why I come at this time of day, because, like, I know this guy, and, he works for us.
I got a guy.
Yeah, he works for us.
Oh, my God.
Shit like that. Shit, she talked about just how, like, they set up networks inside the U.S. So, again, take what I say with a grain of salt. This is secondhand. I'm not an expert on this. But just how they bring in drugs, like all kinds of crazy shit, man. And fuck, I know you've had a couple people on here. I know obviously John Norris, and I just thought of him because of the China connection. But you've had Ed Calderon in here, right? And then who's
Katarina Schultz.
yeah, but there's another man. I can't remember.
Ken McGee, who was fighting the Colombian cartels.
I don't know.
Norris was 265. Schultz was 294 and 313. And then I had in Johnny Mitchell for 314. Ed Calderon was 292 and 293. Matthew Hedger was 290 and 275. He was undercover with the cartels.
Yeah, what I saw clips from that, and I know you had him twice, but he was like a
Insane.
knock or something embedded with cartels. What is his story?
Bro. Woo! Yeah, return my text, Matt, if you're seeing this. I haven't talked to you in a while, pal. But he was a knock, as you said, non-official cover, which is the deepest form of spy that there is. You want to talk, like, CIA is already supposedly case officers deniable. This is completely off books deniable. It's straight out of a movie script. The only reason he is not in anymore in that capacity is because his identity was leaked. There was a leak at CIA.
Jesus.
He didn't confirm who it was. It sounds like it was Chinese intelligence, got some sort of leak. I can't confirm that, but that's what I implied or inferred from what he was saying. And there were 5 or 6 different knocks whose identities were uncovered and their names were published on the dark web. So the chances that anyone listening even saw this are slim, but that's still something public. They were published by that foreign intelligence agency, which was probably China, and they all had to be pulled from the field. Wow. So when you talk about guys who actually like aren't doing their job at CIA anymore, like he actually can't. Like he and there's a lot of countries he can't go to. But his job was to be a professional criminal. They trained him to be a money laundering expert in particularly, and he had to play the role of a guy who was working at, a regular corporation who had this skill and at first infiltrated biker gangs and eventually through those connections just happened to be able to infiltrate the cartels. And the idea was that it's not like to infiltrate it to then use those organizations to actually commit the crimes, though he was doing money laundering for them and other things. So it's like they are doing crimes, but it was more so like, take the biker gang example. They're an international organization. It was a top 4 gang. You can't say which, but you can do the math, right? International organization. So if he's a known biker gang guy, like known to different FBIs around the world, if you will. Let's say he and his buddies take a trip to Hungary. He gets into the country. What's the intelligence saying there? They're like, oh yeah, these are biker gang guys. He's identified as a biker gang guy. So when he goes back to his hotel, changes his identity for a second and goes and does some nuclear football meetup with some Russian fucking arms dealer that has nothing to do with the biker gang, he's not even being trailed to be looked at for that because he's not suspected. It's like double level spying so that you can do all these horrible things for 99.9% of the time. And then that 0.1% of the time, it gives you a cover as a criminal to step out the back door for a minute and go do real CIA shit. So this is what he would do. And he ended up in the cartels. And this was the craziest thing, Dalton. This is like when it comes full circle and you're like, fuck. He's sitting here on March 5th. And I had Shawnee in here the second time with him, she was a DIA lady. And he tells the story, the second podcast we did, number 290, he tells the story about how he personally flipped a top 10 guy at a top 10 bank, normal dude, to launder money for the cartels. And he runs through
American Bank?
Not going to say.
Did he say?
No.
Okay.
But like top 10 bank, top 10 guy, normal guy, didn't have blackmail on him, just got him to flip.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then they used this because that was his job to do for the cartels, and he was really good at it. And he goes through this whole thing. A week later to the day, I have Ed Calderon sitting there. And Ed Calderon at one point is like, so, I mean, are we not going to talk about the CIA? And how
come on, Julian, DOREY.
And how they're flipping big bankers at top 10 banks and top 10 guys? Oh, yeah, they're doing that. I'm like,
no shit.
I'm like, hold on, let me check these goosebumps. Funny you say that, Ed. I had the guy who actually is responsible for doing that sitting in that chair a week ago. And Ed didn't even flinch. He's like, well, there you go. Like, there's your proof. But it's like this world is so complicated. Now, that's one where we're actually inside it and doing things. And yet in the same world where we can pull off that kind of stuff, like our people or whatever, you know, Mariana's uncovering all the shit that we can't even keep our own leaks together. Like on a basic level, like a basic mules coming across the border with fucking fentanyl to kill our kids. It bothers me so much. It's like there's chosen places for competency and there's chosen designated places where we just decide we don't need it. And who ends up paying the price is the citizens of the country.
God, bro. I mean, first of all, I think that she says this too, but the unfortunate part of it is that none of this, you know, fentanyl being smuggled over the border would be relevant if there wasn't a demand here for it.
Yeah.
Like we love it. We fucking love it. We want more of it. We want to kill ourselves with it. And like, I understand addiction is a disease. I'm not disparaging that. That's not my point. But my point is, I think we need to correct that first because, yeah, we can talk about the nature of these cartel members and the people that bring drugs in, but again, it's all basic supply and demand, bro. And like that's what I asked her too. I was like, how the hell do they turn these people? How does somebody like Matthew Hedger turn a banker and money, right? And like and that's obvious to a lot of people, but it's life-changing money. Like how is the average person going to say no to that? If you're a border agent and you make, I don't know what the hell they make, and the cartel offers to, you know, 5, 10x that just to turn your head for 30 seconds, people are going to take that deal. But yeah, bro, I mean, that's another thing that I find really interesting about this intelligence and world is like the people that come on our show, they're is that a bad one?
Unfortunately,
really?
Like the term, I have an idiot who it probably has no concept. I'm not even going to say it, but
okay.
Yes,
we gotta, something world, meaning this intelligence world.
I can't. It's such a fun word to say in that context, but
yeah,
you know how it goes.
Yes, I do.
It's so stupid.
In this world, these things, like the people that come on our show and they're telling stories from operations that have been declassified and that sort of thing. But the interesting thing to me is like the layers.
Yeah.
Like cover as a diplomat, you know, working in an embassy in Iran and then being an operations officer and recruiting people at cocktail parties on the side is one thing. Cover as a criminal in a biker gang is a different one. There's layers to uncover. I find that fascinating.
You also have to psychologically find the people who fit the profiles to be able to do this.
Yes, you do.
And that's always, I mean, you've seen why John could have been great at what he did.
Oh my God,
so much psychologically going on there. But that was the thing with Matthew. He's like, you know, borderline, like on the spectrum, low key dude. And there was a moment in 275, the first time he was in here, where I said, what would you talk like when you were this guy? He was this guy for like 10, 15 years. And like you could see him almost get like internal anxiety that now he was like, there's cameras and he's going to do it. And it took like a second. And it wasn't like watching an Australian Heath Ledger turn into the Joker speaking, American English like a crazy clown, right? Which is an incredible acting performance. This was way more subtle. He was like, he would speak a little faster. I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, all right, let's role play a little bit. And then he you could see him be like, oh, we're doing this. And literally like there's this thing where it wasn't like this.
Right.
But it was like.
That's too obvious.
It was like, wow, did I just unscrew that? That's crazy. Wow. It was like, lean forward. Like, you mean to tell. And it was just like clip and his soul just left his body and he was that dude again.
Interesting.
And I'm like, oof, this is different than winning an Oscar. The cameras are going to stop with that. When you're in a character like this for that many years, you have no idea when those cameras are going to stop, and you have to assume there's no such thing as takes. You know what I mean? So crazy. You talk about the layers with these people. It's crazy to think about just how high the stakes are. Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.